Wait. Bana ngisoje. Bro.
Good evening, viewers. We are live on Anavim. Today, I have with me today Pastor Nathan Olumu. He serves the Lord in Kenya in somewhat very difficult circumstances. So, Pastor Nathan, thank you very much for your time. I'm really glad that we are able to talk.
Thanks so much, my brother. I truly appreciate.
Yeah. So, Pastor Nathan, tell us how did you come to the Lord?
Well, I came to the Lord when I was a young boy of 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 1989 by a Christian family. I was raised in the same family. I was going to the church to attend the church services with my father and my mother until I was 14 years when I decided to give my life to Christ by reading the Word of God and then finally believing in Him. And then I became a Christian and I started serving in some capacity to help in the congregation.
Great. So, when did you exactly set up a church? And in what year?
Well, I did it in 2012. This is when I felt that the Lord was leading me to an independent ministry at a place called Lebo, where there was no church here, and people I've never heard anything about Jesus Christ or the gospel entirely. So I came down to Lebo to establish a church in 2012, and that has grown to a big number, still growing up this time, and also trying to spread to other villages that are surrounding to Lebo.
So you set up a church in an area where there weren't any Christians. How did they took it? Did they offer resistance? Were people were unhappy, or how did they take it?
So you see, like basically, the Maasai traditionally were people who worship idols. These are people who believe in witchcraft and sorcery. And when I came down here and starting up the preaching, was going from house to house and talking to people, they were like, you are trying to preach to us a different gospel or a different thing that we have never heard about it. I see, like I told them, there's God, a God who created up the heavens and the earth and everything that is on it. At some point, there were resistance, but as time goes by and they saw that through prayers and perseverance of the saints, they started to become obedient to the faith.
I understand that Kenya is a very tribal country. So could you tell us how many tribes are there, or do you also come from a tribe?
Yeah, in Kenya, we have so many tribes. We have 42 tribes in Kenya, and I'm from one of them. That's the Maasai tribe. Now, the Maasai tribe is one of the most marginalized tribes in Kenya, and we are spread the southern parts of Kenya and the northern parts of Tanzania. That's basically the geographical location where we are located.
And tell us a little bit about the history of Maasai people, and something, and a little bit about the culture as well.
Now, the Maasai people, these are nomadic pastoralists. They come from the sides of Ethiopia, along the Nile. They came down here, they settled in the southern parts of Kenya and the northern parts of Tanzania. And these are people who are nomadic pastoralists. They move from one place to another with the animals for search of water and pastures. A part of the practice that they do is actually they practice what we call polygamy. They practice FGM, female mutilation, early marriages, forced marriage, and a kind of women abuse or a kind of a behavior where women are beaten up every time by men, and they believe that men have more authority over women.
So in terms of ministries, how many ministries have you got or involved with as part of your church?
Now I'm involved in 5 different ministries. One,
Okay.
we do the preaching and evangelism, which is basically the saving of souls and preaching to them about the Christ.
Mhm.
And then we also involved in the widows program. The widows came as a result of men going into tribal wars where people just attack each other and men die when the process of fighting, and women are left as widows. And again, we have the orphans and vulnerable children. The orphans came about as a result of diseases like HIV and AIDS, malaria, maternal death, and then also like tribal wars. And then we also involved in water and hygiene. This is basically because there is no permanent source of water here, and people had to move from one place to another in search of water. And even if they just get a dirty water somewhere, they drink it and they end up dying out of that. So we also try to encourage them and help them get clean water for drinking, and also the health, where we looking forward to have a clinic where women can be able to be helped when they're giving birth, because we have seen many of them dying at home because there's no one that will help them during the maternity period.
Fascinating. It must be very difficult living in a rural area in Kenya, the village of Labo, you said.
Yeah.
So, so I understand the Maasai people are nomadic people, and you say that you don't have access to clean drinking water.
Yeah.
That's very concerning in this day and age. Like here in Britain and in most of the Western countries, we take it for granted. So has
Yeah.
an NGO or church not reached out to you, or what is the government doing?
Well, I don't have any church that has reached out to me or even an NGO concerning the same matter, or even the government. The government actually has tried to do 20% of the entire development of the country. That has only been based on when the urban centers were on towns. They only be based on that at this time, because we see like we are part of the third world countries. We are not yet developed, and so even getting the taxpayers' money to do the development, sometimes it is challenging. Now the NGOs has not reached out here. See, like in fact, right here in Lebo, we don't have an NGO that's working here, and some churches, some people are preaching, but none of them has got any financial ability to help in any way.
Mm. So, so you are involved in evangelism, and you also provide clean drinking water to as many people as you can, because your resources, of course, are very limited. What else do you do as part of your ministry?
Well, nothing that I do apart from trying to help people with water is actually the issue of a clinic. See, because people don't have any hospital nearby, so they needed a clinic down here in Lebo that can be able to treat them if someone gets an emergency or anything like an accident happen, or bitten by a snake or by wild animals. They get a place at least to be treated or get the medicine. And again, women will be able to give birth uh, at that place, so that they don't have to die at homes or along the ways when they were trying to do that to deliver. And also, we do the orphans ministry. Like right now, we have 62 orphans under our care and 10 widows. These are people that we help them to provide spiritual support and physical support, which include food, clothing, medication, and even school fees for education for the young children, so that at least they get the knowledge and become better people tomorrow in the society.
Okay, and do you also have other needs or areas where you need help to?
Yeah. Now the areas that we needed the help is actually one, you need Bibles, because many people, they don't have Bibles and they can't afford it. So we look for that they at least they get Bibles, so that they can be able to read. They can get closer to God, understand God's word by themselves. They can be able to share with others. But again, we needed a well, a borehole, at least a borehole here, so that you have a borehole in the middle of Lebo, so that the people from the surrounding will be coming together to get water, clean water for drinking, and also get a
Yes.
ample time to settle and be able to hear God's word. And again,
Yes.
a clinic where people can be treated within Lebo village so that they don't have to struggle or die just because they lack medication. And also maybe food and clothing for these orphan children and the widows, and also a means of transport for that will enable us to reach more people with the gospel and even help these people when they are sick, bring them to this hospital and take them back so that at least it will be easy to make easy mobility within the society.
So you mentioned the absence of clean drinking water and people having to go to
Mhm.
different places in search of water. What is the
Mhm.
permanent solution, in your opinion, to address this problem?
Well, the permanent solution will be we drill a borehole, really sunk it a well where you drill up to 300 meters underground, depending on
Mhm.
the geological survey. Then equip that well very well with the pump, the solar, the generator, and even electricity, and make it be working and get so many water tanks, so that you have lots of water, so that people will be coming from all the surrounding to get the water.
And the quality of water that people get, is that satisfactory, in your opinion, when people do get water after, say, traveling for miles and miles, and when they do get water, what is the quality of that water, and does it make people ill then?
Now, I'm thinking like because when you drill a borehole and you sunk it in underground, you'll get lots of volumes of water. Now, the water that you get will help will be huge. And again, you have a solar that will pump during the sunny daytime, and again a generator to pump the water, to pump that water over the night so that it's filled on the tanks and people will come and get as much water as they want for their families.
I can see behind you a woman. So you still wear your tribal dresses, don't you?
Yeah, that's my wife. He dresses
Okay.
on the way people on the tribe will dress. Maybe he can stand just here for a minute.
Yeah. No.
Then you can see how they dress, the women.
Yeah. So we was, as you can see, Pastor Nathan's wife. She's standing behind. She's standing behind him, and wearing her traditional dress. People in Labo are experiencing lots and lots of difficulties, and yet Pastor Nathan is committed to serving the Lord. He has highlighted his ministry needs. There is no access to clean drinking water, and he would like a clinic to be established in his village so that people don't have to go to the city, which is far. People don't have transportation. In this day and age, I'm deeply touched to hear what Pastor Nathan Olumu she just shared just now. Pastor Nathan, I understand that Kenya is a predominantly Christian country, and there are some like 80%, over 80% of people in Kenya are Christians, and yet Christians there face persecution. Why is it so?
Well, the reason why we are facing persecutions in this country is because there are several things that people worship. And the reality, when people they say they're Christians, well, that's not that doesn't show. Maybe they're just Christians by name, but they worship other things. They worship idols. And then, for example, the Maasai people from that the tribe I come from, they have what we call the sorcerers, the magicians, and then they have the witchcrafts. Now, these people from the Maasai tribe, they worship those people. When you go tell them about the gospel, sometimes they threaten your life. Sometimes they even the sorcerers will send you either a snake over the night or a wild animal, or they just make a calamity to come upon you. And even they fight you physically. They make a physical war to your confrontation because you are trying to threaten their territory. That's their spiritual territory. That's why a lot of us face persecutions, and many people have always given up. Many people I saw people becoming Christians. At some point, they left the Lord because of the kind of persecution that they go through. Their families will tell them they're no longer part of us. The group, the age group will tell them, no, if you are going to become a Christian, then we are not together. So that's why the thing that makes us persecuted.
In terms of your congregants, how big is your church in terms of the congregants that you have, your congregation?
Now, the size of the congregation right now stands at 79 because we have 38 adults. These are grown-ups, parents, and then you have 41 youths. That makes a total of 79. But again, we have a young bunch of children, young kids. These are Sunday school kids that you don't really count them still at the church, but at least you have 79 that are outstanding.
And Pastor Nathan, please tell us, how does an average person make a living there? How do people make it?
Now, the people here makes a living by going to a place, or you go very far and you try to share, to look after someone's goats. Someone has 5 goats and you look after those goats. They pay for the day. They will only give you a meal, a single meal per day. You find like someone going for 1 meal a day, and then some go to town to become watchmen and they are paid like $50 a month. You see, so they're just trying to survive in that capacity. Now, nobody really makes an average living that is able to sustain their families.
Am I correct in saying that there is a huge gap between the rich and the poor in Kenya, as is the situation more or less around the world? But in some parts of the world, this gap is appallingly big. So what do you think is the reason behind this?
Well, the reason behind it is that many of the rich people are either politicians, and these are because they take a lot of money from the government. They take a lot of pay. For example, an average member of parliament who is just a sitting member of parliament without any post in the government will be paid over $10,000 a month. They have car, whatever. They pay them lots of money for the insurance, the cars, and the bodyguards, and also the police. They pay them because they're paid by the government. But now for the people who are not employed by the government, they tend to be very, very poor, unless if someone got somebody like something like an NGO or a church that is working in that village, then that will improve the living standard of people, because they will get water close, they will get health close, they will get everything close that they needed, and that development will come in, and maybe some will be able to start their own businesses because they settled in their village.
Clearly, you had to face challenges doing ministry before the advent of this pandemic. But before the arrival of the coronavirus, the situation, would you say, was better? But after that, in what ways has it worsened for you? And
now, since the pandemic, this is the coronavirus came to Africa, the markets were closed. And generally people from here, from the village, they don't have anything to do. So they go either they're employed to look for someone's goats, or they're employed in town as a watchman, or some are taken as casual laborers. If you, for example, you are rich and you are taking some of your cows to the market, then these are the people you will pay them like $20 or $2 to take your cow to the market. So the markets were closed. That means even if you get some money somewhere to buy food, then you don't have a store to buy because it was closed. Or if someone wants to sell his cow or go to the market to get some money for food or anything, then the market was not operational because the entire country was under lockdown. So this made the life so difficult, and I saw people going with a single meal in 2 days. And we as a church, I went to an extra mile to try to provide them with some relief food. As I send you some pictures to show that when you saw somebody getting like 2 kilos of funga of maize flour that they can cook for their families for 2 days. Then from the 2 days, if we don't have anything as a church as well to provide, and then we just have to wait and see what the Lord will provide. So life has been really, really hard during this period.
So, so the government has slapped lockdown in Kenya, but the government is not providing any funds to people so that they can live on if there are no jobs, or if the jobs have been affected or gone. So there is no support from the government. Is that
No, no,
right?
no. The government did not provide any financial assistance for people to get food. They say they
And
will,
do,
but that has never been.
and do people do social distancing, or do they have masks to wear, or it is not the case?
Now people only do that in town because of the police or for force or enforcement agencies. You fear like to be taken into a court or to be jailed because you don't have a mask. But reality, Kenyans here don't believe there is something like a coronavirus. It's still like for the ordinary people who are surviving to live, they don't believe that. You tell them like keep social distance, put on a mask. They say like, what? How are we going to do it? We don't even have anything to eat, leave alone buying a mask or buying a sanitizer or anything of that nature. So people
And
will put that in towns.
and Pastor Nathan, I understand that the place where you're sitting now, in the middle of this field, is that the place where you worship, or do you have a church building, or?
Yeah, we have a church building. This is my compound. It's a compound that I'm seated in. That's my house.
Okay.
Just you can see behind. Now, so I'm seated right now. The church is just like 500 meters from here, just 500. But we have a building. We have tried to just construct a temporary building that can help us to be able to meet for worship and for Bible classes.
So you're watching Pastor Nathan Alumu from Kenya. He's sharing his work with the Lord. He set up a church in Kenya, and he plans to set up more churches. But clearly, there are challenges that he faces to provide for his congregation, for his congregants, and whosoever is watching, and if God lays it on your heart to help Pastor Nathan Alumu and his ministry, please do contact him. He is on Facebook, Nathan Alumu, NATHANOLUMU. You could also write Pastor Nathan Alumu an email, which I would read it out. Is nathanolumumu@gmail.com. You could also contact Pastor Nathan Olumu by phone. Here is his phone number, 254, which is the country code for Kenya, 729-959-001. I say it once again, 254-729-959-001. I'm personally touched to hear what Pastor Nathan Alumu had to say. He's definitely doing ministry in very trying circumstances. So I also personally appeal to you to please help Pastor Nathan Olumu's ministry so that he could continue the work of the Lord. Thank you very much, Pastor Nathan Alumu, for joining us today. God bless you, your wife, your family, your ministry, your folks, and it's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much, my brother. I truly appreciate. So thankful and because of this opportunity that we go together to talk and then do a live video. And I truly appreciate that you continue praying that God will continue to bless you, that you remain a blessing to many.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Nathan Alumu. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, bro.